Hello again everyone and welcome back. This is part 3 of 3 of resolving cholesterol issues naturally. In the previous lessons you learned why your body needs cholesterol, how it's used to manufacture vitamins like vitamin D, testosterone and estrogen, but mostly it's needed to repair damage to your membranes of your 37 trillion cells and to the walls of your blood vessels. You also learned that elevated cholesterol for the overwhelming majority of adults is due to poor dietary choices, eating too many carbohydrates, and especially too little fiber. So too many people do not get enough fiber in their diet every day. In fact, most people get less than half the fiber that they actually need. That results in their body recycling LDL cholesterol along with other constituents and junk, basically garbage, right back into your bloodstream. And it just adds to the problem. That overwhelms your body's attempts to manage your cholesterol and keep it within a proper level. So you also learn that HDL and LDL lipoproteins are those primary transporters that carry cholesterol throughout your body and manage it. There are millions of people that are on cholesterol medications that absolutely do not even need it. So there's very important new discoveries about cholesterol that have been released within the past couple of years that you should absolutely know about. Those discoveries found that there are actually 3 types of HDL and 2 types of LDL. That's compared to what we always thought was just one HDL and one LDL. The HDL is found in those 3 types: HDL APO1, or it's abbreviated HDL1, and likewise with HDL APO2 is HDL2, and the HDL APO3 is abbreviated as HDL3. So the HDL, or the LDL, is now found to be in 2 types, distinct types, not just the one. It's now been discovered to be in LDL type A and LDL type B. Both are found in 2 sizes, which are large and small. That's meaning the HDL and the LDL are found in large and small sizes. Some are beneficial because they don't contribute, as a cause that is, for heart disease or strokes. But some are basically useless, and they are therefore going to confuse issues. HDL is referred to usually as the good cholesterol, and about 30% of the cholesterol that is transported throughout your body is LDL. The HDL1 is the good guy. It's the one that seeks out and captures all of the excess LDL, and it carries it to your liver to be disposed of. It marks the chylomicrons. You remember the chylomicrons were the largest form of cholesterol that is produced when you eat meat or anything that's fatty. And those fats are broken down by enzymes. They're converted into triglycerides, and they're put into they're picked up by your lymph system. They're pumped up into your neck, and they're dumped into your bloodstream. Then enzymes begin to work on breaking them down, and the first step is into VLDL, which is very low density lipoproteins, and those particles are then picked up by your liver because they've been marked by the HDL as being something the liver wants to pick up. And so the HDL1 will also scrub and maintain your blood vessels, and it will initiate the repairs that have to be done on the vessel. HDL1 also enhances your immune system by binding to toxins and carrying them out. HDL also contains antioxidants. Remember antioxidants? They're so very valuable and so important because they reduce oxidation. They stop inflammation, and that is so vitally important when it comes to the oxidation of the LDL cholesterol, which makes it sticky and causes it to stick to your arteries and accumulate as plaque. So the total HDL level has to be above 40 according to the experts. That's milligrams per deciliter. That's for men, and women need to be above 50. Preferably, they should both be above 60 milligrams per deciliter in order to be safe. But again, the 3 new HDLs identified, of those, 2 of them are actually very distinct. The HDL1 and the HD2 are actually relevant, but the 3rd is so useless that we are going to totally ignore it. The H2, though, contains a combination of that APOA1 and the APOA2. So it is significantly less beneficial, and so it isn't really going to do you a whole lot of good. But the problem is that they're all in there together. The HDL1 reduces the risk of artery lesions by 15 times, more much greater, 15 times greater than the HDL2 will. And it provides a 52% less risk of developing heart disease. So if you have mostly HDL2, you're not going to have a very high risk of heart disease. So the HDL1 reduces the risk of developing heart disease. The HDL1 can be easily damaged. It can be subject to inflammation, and it'll be rendered as completely useless. So if it is subject to inflammation, it'll no longer be useful for removing the excess LDL, and it'll change from being an anti-inflammatory substance to an actual pro-inflammatory substance, which means it will actually cause inflammation. So again, the LDL lipoproteins carry cholesterol, the fats, throughout your body, to your organs, to your tissues, and then to every single one of your cells to enable the repairs that have to be made on those membranes. And again, all the excess LDL is then going to be susceptible to oxidation, which is also going to contribute to arteriosclerosis, meaning plaque buildup in your arteries. So the LDL cholesterol is the primary transporter of cholesterol throughout your body, as we described. So now the LDL particles, being found in two sizes, the larger particles provide a distinct survival advantage. That means that the larger LDL type A particles are not at all dangerous. They're in fact mostly useless. It's the smaller LDL particle, the type B particles, that are going to be susceptible to inflammation. They are going to stick to your arteries, and they are going to cause arteriosclerosis. They are going to cause heart attacks and stroke if they get to that level. So these small LDL particles are very, very dangerous. They're life-threatening particles. They are so small that 10,000 of them, if you were to gather 10,000 of those tiny LDL type B particles and crunch them together, they would form a dot on a page about the size of a printed period on a page. That's small. But don't kid yourself. They accumulate very fast because when you cook food improperly, you produce them by the billions. They're so small that they're measured as a billionth of a meter. The small particles are so easily oxidized, and that means inflammation will occur. So they will stick to your arteries, and they will produce plaque. So your liver converts the VLDL. You recall that? It converts the VLDL cholesterol into those tiny type B cholesterol particles and releases them into your bloodstream. That means that even if your cholesterol numbers are good, meaning that you go get a blood test and your doctor says you've got great high LDL and you've got low LDL, your doctor won't know this, and you won't either, because you could still be a strong candidate for a heart attack. Because if most of that HDL cholesterol is the HDL2, that means there is very little HDL1 that's collecting the excess LDL and getting it out of your bloodstream. And if the cholesterol, even though the number may be low on the LDL, if it's the type B and it's all type B, you could very well be at higher risk for a heart attack, and it does happen. But likewise, if your cholesterol is low, let's say for example you were very low in HDL and you were very high in LDL, you could still be at very little risk for a heart attack for the same reason. The HDL1 could be all of the HDL that's in the number, even though it's a smaller number, and all of the type of the LDL could be all type A, which is totally useless. So your risk is almost zero. So the problem is that the current blood tests that doctors are currently using count all of these types, both the 3 HDLs and the 2 LDL cholesterols, and they include them all as a single number. There's no way of knowing how much of each of those you have, unless, of course, you were to pay a very large sum of money to a laboratory to have them actually count them under a microscope. So experts are now frantically trying to find a way to measure these so that we have more accurate tests when we do get a blood test to see what our cholesterol is. So you can take all of the mystery out of this, though, for your cholesterol readings, just by making a few simple changes in your diet. Because if you do that, if you follow the right diet and you make the right changes, you can totally take away the risk of damaging heart attacks or strokes because the wrong HDLs or the wrong LDLs are dominant. So there's a few simple rules that you should follow to lower your cholesterol. it is possible to significantly increase the HDL1, the good one, and the LDL type A, which is the non-damaging type of LDL. You can lower your triglycerides and you can lower your blood pressure just by making a few simple changes in your diet and lifestyle. So it's very important that you lose all the excess weight that you have around your center. That spare tire has to go away. Start exercising. Eat right in smaller portions. Hydrate and restore your vitamin and mineral deficiencies by taking an organic-based multivitamin. Even if you're not diabetic, if you follow the 6 steps of the diabetes control program, it shows you how to do all of these things. So go easy on fructose, on fruit. Don't eat too terribly much, because remember, it can raise your LDL cholesterol, the bad form. Corn syrup is another, and agave nectar is 92% fructose. And remember, you don't want to overdo it on fructose because that can increase your LDL. Stop smoking. Stop eating saturated animal fats. Stop cooking your meat and animal fats at extreme temperatures. Remember, over 300 degrees, all of the fat is going to be converted into saturated fats and into LDL type B, the bad form of LDL cholesterol. So those damaged type B are going to be produced in the absolute billions and billions. They're going to enter your bloodstream very easily and very quickly, and they're going to go right to your arteries. They will be oxidized. Inflammation will make them sticky, and they will start to accumulate in your arteries in record numbers. So trim all the fat off the meat before you cook it and bake it at lower temperatures. Just remember that that's dry heat. That's not a good thing. Pressure cooking is far better. Crock pots are far better because they're damp heat. Significantly reduce the number of carbohydrates that you eat. Remember, 40 to 50 grams every day maximum. Fresh, organic, non-GMO vegetables are preferred. Stop eating fast foods, processed foods, and cut out all sugar from your diet. Make certain that you consume enough fiber every single day. Shoot for 50 grams a day. Dairy. Remember, when they homogenize dairy, all of the fat is converted into type B LDL cholesterol, and you know where it's going to go. Alcohol stimulates your liver to produce more type B LDL cholesterol, so obviously you should limit alcohol. Stop eating all deep-fried foods. Those vegetable oils are highly pro-inflammatory. They're going to produce massive amounts of inflammation. Eliminate all trans fats. Largely that's been done. You don't see as many trans fats in our food anymore, but if they are in there, they increase the production of those LDL cholesterol, and they do promote inflammation as well. So again, if you eat fatty meats, too much food, or too many carbohydrates, those are all going to cause LDL cholesterol to be produced in the type B form in large amounts. They'll convert the excess fat and the excess glucose from excess carbs into triglycerides. They'll go into your bloodstream, and some of those are going to be ending up as LDL cholesterol. The rest will be fat, which also exacerbates the whole entire condition. So when your triglycerides exceed 133, that's milligrams per deciliter, those small LDL type B particles begin to form. So obviously anything you do to increase the number of triglycerides in your bloodstream, like eating too much food and too many carbohydrates, for example, or overheated foods, overcooked foods, then you're going to begin producing lots and lots of LDL cholesterol. So that elevated blood sugar that glycates, it bonds to those small LDL particles. They're going to stay in your bloodstream for a long period of time. It makes them significantly more likely to be oxidized, to be subject to inflammation. And so they're going to cause your immune system to be bombarded with incompatible substances, and your immune system is going to get stuck in a state of war called inflammation. Once oxidized, those type B cholesterol particles are going to become very sticky. They're going to clump together, and they're going to bond readily in those clumps to your artery walls and cause plaque. That inflammation causes a rapid weight gain, central fat accumulation, and that rapid accumulation of fat is going to cause fatty liver, and that fatty liver is going to result in insulin resistance. And that means that your cells are not going to take up glucose very well, and so there's going to be more glucose in the bloodstream. They're also going to elevate the levels of HDL2 and LDL type B cholesterol, which are both the bad forms of cholesterol. None of those are good scenario. So when your blood sugar is elevated, that glucose bonds to those small LDL particles. They're going to stay in your bloodstream for a much longer period of time. Their risk of being oxidized and cause them to contribute to plaque buildup is going to significantly increase. So in response to this buildup, your cells are going to respond, your arteries are going to multiply and secrete other substances that are going to make the condition even worse. There'll be a lump of gruel, they call it, that will form. It's made up of soft, flaky, yellowish type material, if you've ever seen pictures of it, and that will be followed by layers of cholesterol crystals and calcified outer layer. More lesions will form, and this whole process will just keep on going. So plaque is made up of a variety of substances, which includes calcium, fat, oxidized LDL type B particles, cellular waste, and fibrin. Fibrin is a cotton-like fiber that floats around in your bloodstream, and it's what your body uses to form clots. Something that you need if you're injured, but you certainly don't need if you're trying to fight heart disease. So the arteries are going to harden, and they're going to narrow, they're going to restrict flow, and they're going to cause your blood pressure to rise. Arteriosclerosis displays absolutely no symptoms, other than you will slowly see a rise in your systolic blood pressure number. That's the top number on your blood pressure reading. And the higher that systolic number goes, it's a very good indication that your arteriosclerosis is getting worse, that the plaque buildup is getting greater and greater, and eventually it will lead to a major event. So there are other things that you can do besides this. There's an enzyme called serrapeptase. It's used extensively in Europe. It was discovered by a German doctor. And you should buy it. You can buy it online now in the United States and all over the world. Buy it in the highest dose, 120,000 units daily. You can take it 2 or even 3 times a day, but you have to be sure that it's at least 2 hours before or after eating. The best time is just before you go to bed and just after you get up, first thing in the morning. You never take it around a meal, a snack, because it will just become a digestive enzyme and it won't help you. What it does, it's an enzyme that will digest, break down the plaque from your arteries. And it's not necessarily a fast process, but depending on how much plaque you have in your arteries, I've seen even some of the worst cases cleaned out, totally cleaned out in about 18 months. Do everything you can to eliminate inflammation. That means when you stop eating processed foods, read the labels on everything you buy. Don't buy anything that has additives in it. Take omega-3s, fish oil. You need 1,000 milligrams of DHA and 500 milligrams of EPA every single day in order to prevent heart disease. Don't buy fish oil that's sold as international units, IU units. Always read the label. Always buy DHA and EPA. I buy the Ultra Omega-3s, which have 500 EPA and 250 DHA, which is going to give you, if you take 2 of those a day, will solve your problem. There is a video on omega-3s. I highly recommend you watch it to understand why all of this works the way it does and why it is so important. Take antioxidant supplements every single day. Eat lots and lots of antioxidant-rich foods, like vegetables, for example. Consider taking niacin, especially in the slow time-release version. Some people will get a flushing from taking the regular niacin, but the time release, usually you won't get that. Red yeast rice is known, 1,200 milligrams twice a day, has been known to reduce cholesterol by 30%. So eat lots of onions and garlic every single day. Those are sulfur-based vegetables, and that sulfur is a powerful, powerful element. It will do so many, many powerful things for you, including helping you resolve cholesterol issues. And of course, the darker those onions, the red and purple onions, are actually the most powerful. Vigorous exercises raises the HDL, those HDL1s, and it lowers those LDL type B cholesterol particles. Ashwagandha, it's an herb from India, and if you take that along with, or lavender essential oil instead, Those will reduce the stress which can contribute to your cholesterol issues. Cypress oil lowers your cholesterol and improves circulation. Alpha lipoic acid, one of the most powerful antioxidants known. It not only improves your circulation, it lowers your blood pressure slightly, but is a very powerful antioxidant, one of the most powerful. Rosemary oil is also very powerful. It's an antioxidant, and it too lowers cholesterol. So you can bring your cholesterol levels back into a normal range permanently, and you can do it naturally. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. Thanks for watching it. You can watch it again if you need, as many times as you need, and share everything you learn with others, because they most certainly can benefit as well. Thank you.